Trustee Deteen?
Here.
Trustee Frierson?
Here.
Trustee McDowell?
Here.
Trustee McKinney? Chairman Neal?
Here. And no agenda changes. So moving on, item 4, approval of minutes of the regular meeting held on December 20th, 2016 at 6:30 p.m. and a special meeting held on January 9th, 2017 at 6:30 p.m. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion second. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Deteen?
Aye.
Trustee Frierson?
Aye.
Trustee McDowell?
Aye.
Trustee McKinney?
Aye.
Chairman Neal?
Are there any citizens' comments this evening? Anyone? Nothing from you, Mr. Bremner? Item 6 on the agenda, authorized bills for payment, trustee Deteen.
Yes, I had the opportunity to meet with the township supervisor today. We went over the bills, and I'm respectfully asking you to approve the bills totaling to the amount of $97,370.35.
Second.
Discussion.
Just a couple of quick questions.
Yeah.
So I was looking at the emergency assistance and flat grant.
Mhm.
Emergency assistance is almost at its max. What's the difference when you grant a flat grant versus emergency assistance?
So flat grants are for general assistance, so those are the monthly clients that we work with to either get them back into the workforce or on disability, whichever one that they can qualify for. Emergency assistance is the one-time situation when a resident has a crisis. And so it's my intention that because the 10% that you can't go over is in the division, it's not in the line item, that we will still continue to provide emergency assistance on a case-by-case if people need that.
Okay.
And we will be increasing that some next year. So,
Got it. Okay.
thank you for bringing that up.
And then the other question was about liability insurance. I'm assuming that's just a small increase that we didn't account for the year? Is that a
Correct.
one-time payment?
Yeah. And then I brought it up last month, but just to remind you guys, SUDA, that is going to be up substantially. It's never been up because I've had the same staff for so long, but for every new employee, you have to pay in immediately $1,200. So when Gail Glaudemans was in the office this budget year, it was $1,200. Then we had the employee that replaced her, and that was another $1,200. And now, as of this Friday, we will have a new employee, so it's another $1,200. So we will be over in that line item by $2,400. We never would take into account making it higher because, we assume that once we get an employee, we keep them. The other line item that is going over substantially is taxi tickets. Our seniors are using the taxi tickets more than they've ever used them. So I went back and I did an audit through all of the vouchers to see if there's anything different, and they're just using them a lot more frequently. So again, it's my intention that it'll be that line item that's over and none of the other line items are over. So I hate to pull back on a program that it's, in a lot of cases, it's their only form of transportation. So,
Okay. Thank you.
and just so that we have the other modes that we do provide for the community, or especially for seniors, is we have a partnership with the Zion Park District, and 3 Fridays out of the month, I believe, we had to cut it back because of budget cuts, but they actually do door-to-door service where they'll go to the seniors' home, pick them up, and take them to, they go to Jewel, Piggly Wiggly, and Walmart. So they just call the Park District and give them their name, and they'll pick them up. So those are the 2. And then the 3rd that we use is through a PACE paratransit dial ride, and then we have the monthly amount that we share. And so for those services. Good. Any other questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Deteen?
Aye.
Trustee Frierson?
Aye.
Trustee McDowell?
Aye.
Trustee McKinney?
Aye.
Chairman Neal?
Aye. Item 7, consider resolution 2016 R-1 regarding reimbursement for travel expenses of officers and employees of Zion Township per Chairman Neal. What's that?
Go ahead.
Is there a motion?
I move that we approve them.
Second. Discussion.
We reviewed this at our last meeting, but we didn't approve it because it wasn't on the agenda?
Correct.
Okay.
It inadvertently got left off the agenda. And all it is, we have an expense policy that we use in the office, and the state law mandated that you have to actually have an ordinance, so we're just approving it as the ordinance. So, and we set the hotel And meals based on what the state, no, the federal rates are, correct, Diane?
Federal,
And then mileage is based on what they said.
IRS.
What's that?
It's based on the IRS?
Right. the
Limits,
IRS
right?
number.
Okay.
And also, because that wasn't on the agenda last time, the number is 2017.
Oh, that's right, oops, there we go, consider, so, do we need to like redo that? Consider resolution 2017 R-1
Right.
regarding reimbursement for travel expenses.
Correct.
So can we, the same motion and second?
So moved.
Okay, good. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Deteen?
Aye.
Trustee Frierson? Trustee McDowell?
Aye.
Trustee McKinney?
Aye.
Chairman Neal?
Aye.
And then another quick question on that one about policy.
Mhm.
So in terms of, I guess, approvals that need to come to the board,
Mhm.
is that updated in your work policy?
Yeah, that's, okay. Item number 8, discussion regarding University of Chicago Harris Policy Lab study per Chairman Neal. So I reached out to Alden from the Metropolitan Planning Commission, or Council, and they will be sending me a full white paper that they wanted to review before they actually sent it out. So we will be getting those results. I was said that you couldn't make the meeting. We do have it on tape so that you can see the full information. But just initial thoughts. I'd like to open it up for conversation about what your thoughts were based on their presentation. So whoever wants to go first. Well, we know how Mike feels, so let's let somebody else go first, and then Mike can like say his stand. Wait, did I just say that out loud? No.
I don't know how I feel.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Well, I feel like they did a great job.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Yeah, yeah. So I am kind of curious about that because there was some, I would say some negative feedback about us using college students to do this work. And my take on it was incredibly thorough. They were very unbiased. They dug deep. They got a lot of information that I wouldn't have even expected them to get. So, you know, aside from what they came up with, I was really impressed with the product that we got from that. And
I think we could probably question some of the figures that they came to, like the median housing price.
Yeah.
And I think the demographics, I don't know where they got their demographics from, but it doesn't jive with what we have been using. It's about a third, and a third
Right.
white, third black, third Hispanic. So it's different in their report, but they're not huge things. And
Right. Right. And that was one of the questions that I had for them was the median house, because they said that the median for our community is 134. And so then I actually had a long conversation with him about it, and he was talking a lot of different scientific terminology about how they concocted that number. But the bottom line was they used the same formula for Benton Township and Zion Township. So the numbers ended up, but you know.
if there was a house that was valued at that
just
price,
took the
that would be the
median.
tax burden.
Right.
So.
Right.
Right.
So.
Oh, yours is one
Yeah.
too, yes. But I also gave them figures that were correct figures, but they did not use those
Right.
for some reason.
So. Yeah. So any others? So.
I would have liked to have gotten more input from Benton Township,
Mhm.
just to get a feel for, you know, how they felt about, you know, the data that was provided.
Mhm.
I also think that they could have used some different communities. I understand they were a bit limited in terms of time and what information was available, but I didn't feel that the ones chosen were the best similarities for our population here in Zion.
Mhm.
But other than that, I mean, like you said, I think they did a great job. I think it was great for what we asked them to do. The challenge now is figuring out next steps.
Right. And just so everybody understands, they asked for a $1,500 stipend to do this entire report. Most companies, I think you'd probably at least add a zero for doing this kind of work. So we were really grateful. And the city and the township are going to be splitting that. We have not gotten a bill for that yet. So when we do, we'll be processing it. So, yeah. Mayor, did you have anything you wanted to say?
I guess my question is, what's next?
Right.
I asked that
Yep.
the last time, and where do we go with this information? We have it now, and at what point does this board, is there gonna be a another meeting? Is there gonna be a public hearing? How are you gonna proceed on determining what happens next?
Well, and just so that, and Jennifer's in the audience, the assessor for Benton Township, and I had lunch with the Benton Township supervisor today, and they are not interested in moving forward with the information. They do not think it's in any, but the Benton Township residents are not interested in doing anything that is going to raise their taxes in any way, shape, or form. And so, you know, she said if anybody wants to come to the meeting and talk to us about it, we can have that conversation, but.
So that leaves us with the three alternatives of either blowing the township up altogether, leaving it the same, or merging with the city.
Right.
And how do we go about, what's the plan for getting to that decision, I guess?
Right.
How are we gonna do that?
Well, and I think it's up to this board as to how we think that we should proceed with it.
I actually think we're down to two options, because the third, although
Right.
I think would be beneficial for the state to dissolve the townships into the county. But the likelihood of that happening and the legislative burden for doing that, I think, is beyond what we could do here. Unless there's a movement among townships and our citizenry to demand Lake County dissolve townships, then I don't think that we can, that's a viable option for our township to consider right now. So that leaves staying the same or somehow combining with the city.
Right.
That's where I've,
Well, the county's already pushing to get rid of assessors. There's a big push to get rid of township assessors now.
yeah.
It wouldn't be that
A
difficult.
big push from where?
From the Lake County
Okay.
to have the assessments done at the county level. So, and that's in the works now, and it's a possibility.
Yeah, never know.
What's the advantage of that?
Cost savings.
Is it cheaper in Cook County than it is in Lake County? I mean, per unit, do you know that?
I don't know that. But Lake County, the assessors, or supervisor assessment office has all the tools to do the assessments now. The assessors are just another layer of government.
But if I remember correctly, there was wasn't there a white paper put out a year ago or a year and a half ago? And then the assessors themselves looked at it and said a lot of this information is inaccurate and.
Yes, and we are in the process of rebutting of that report, and we will be turning that into the county board within weeks.
Who has the jurisdiction on that?
That's what do you mean, who has a jurisdiction as far as what?
Yeah,
Doing
it would
away
take-
with assessors.
It would take
Lake County board.
legislation, and they don't have jurisdiction, it would take legislation.
Changing the Constitution of the state.
Right.
Well, the board can do it for just Lake County if they want. That's not the way I
Well,
read it.
so, but based on the information that we have for us moving forward, just the idea that for a house that's valued at $134,500, the guesstimated tax savings would be $27 per household. In my opinion, that money will be swallowed up by some other taxing body in a second, and the work that we do at the township is so sensitive to the residents that we serve that to try and move it over here and it's two different cultures of work that go on. The city is a business where you're serving the citizens with services of water and streets and sewer, and it's not exactly a compassionate service to try and help people find solutions.
So you think it would be sucked up by other departments?
Well, so the culture is one issue, and then the funding is a whole different issue. And my greater concern with being able to serve the residents is that, when you're given the choice between having emergency assistance for residents and needing police and fire, it's a done deal. It's going to police and fire. So being able to protect those funds to be able to help the residents with the intention that they were collected, I think is a huge concern of mine.
I listened very intently. I did have my hearing aids turned on. And I had a hard time understanding what advantage that would be for us to change things. just thinking about moving things all around and trying to fit something different into a system that's working now. Maybe it's not the best, but I just have a hard time supporting a big move. And it may be a good idea somewhere down the line, but I don't feel that I could want to support it at this time. I feel that we should leave it the way it is, and if it doesn't work for us, then we can discuss it again. But that's the way I feel.
It's certainly not a huge tax savings. So, I mean, nothing in this study just jumped out at us or jumped out at me to say, oh, wow, if we did this, we would save the taxpayers quite a bit. And that's just not the case.
Right.
I think the non-monetary value of considering something like this, I'm not saying we ought to, but just considering it, is in our state we have just under 7,000 taxing bodies, and that type of bureaucracy I think needs to be whittled away at.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have the responsibility for other taxing bodies I do for this one. So if it's an area that we can somehow combine services or reduce the burden for the taxpayer, and in this case, it's not a huge savings for taxpayer, but it might set an example for other townships in other counties and other places. Well, it is possible to combine services and get rid of some of our taxing bodies. The real problem here, Sherry, is I think you and your office staff do such an excellent job, it's hard for me to make that argument. I can see the value of it countywide, statewide, but you do an excellent job, so I'm arguing against myself.
Well, and I think and I just lost but where I appreciate the work that we did is that I feel like we've already set the example, because we sought out outside information in order to get the facts, whether, it would be in our best interest and how much it would save, versus just going off a spin and story to figure out what we want to do. And it would be my hope that other organizations would also be willing to just do a study to find out, is it in our best interest? One of the conversations I had was in looking at in Winthrop Harbor and in Beach Park, their park district is combined with their city. And they provide a few services, but there's not a lot that they provide compared to the Zion Park District. So if the park district were part of the city, what would be providing in terms of those services? So there is something, we could combine the park district under the city and we'd have less government, but then is that really the best thing for the residents in the community? And just for the sake of reducing a number on a chart, we're also reducing the integrity of services and, being able to stay in integrity with the mission of the different services that we provide. Thoughts? Richard, do you have any?
If we decide to just leave things the way they are, and this is really the only venue where all of us can sit together and talk, so I'm just going to throw out ideas, and that's all they are.
That's what we're here for.
Is it possible to combine, not do away with the township or our levy responsibilities, but is there a way of maybe some of our business type, bookkeeping type things, business manager type things, could that be done by the city? Keep the entity of the township as is, but basically contract out services to the city.
Right. Well, and that is one, I don't know how David feels about that. Right now, we're paying $1,625 a month for our accounting services and payroll. So
If David did, it would be free, so.
Right. Well, it would be free to the township. It would not be free to David.
You can handle that, right?
Right.
Whatever my bosses say.
Right, there you go. So I do think it's worth a conversation with everything that we do, to be able to look at it and what are we doing and how can we do it more efficiently. I'd also like to look at how we can collaborate better. There's some things, wanting to get with your department, with the township, and just having a tour, and how can we work well together. When your guys come across situations where it's truly a resident that has some other issues that they need help with. I just had, one of the firemen reached out to me, and it's a resident that she's in a wheelchair and her lift is broken, so the firemen are having to lift her in and out of her house. So he reached out, and now we're trying to help her find, a way to be able to get her lift fixed. So having more collaborative conversations and recognizing that we're on a bigger team, even though we're, separate, I think that's a really big piece to being able to be more helpful for the residents in our community. Mayor?
I guess I'd like to follow up on Mike's comments. Is there some way that we can delve into those issues of accounting services that perhaps the city could provide for the township at a cheaper than what you're doing now? Because I know David's not real expensive. He doesn't.
Well, I mean,
Might
just to
be.
expand on that, we have a significant amount of employees in the city. We have the infrastructure in place to relatively easily process payroll. Then an extra 5 employees is not gonna be that hard to maintain.
Right.
Same thing with the bills that we pay monthly or bi-weekly or whatever. The volume of township bills that have to be paid, maybe you have the general assistance checkbook, things like that. It might
Right.
be, work out those
Right.
details. But throwing in the township bills in there and just creating a separate department in our reporting so that can be easily
Right.
provided
Right.
is not that hard.
Right.
And-
Um,
And didn't we already look at health insurance? The township coming underneath the city's health insurance?
There
but
was some reason
It was
we
actually
could-
cheaper for you to stay where you were, if I
Yeah,
remember correctly.
Right. That might be good. In my report, I shared that Friday, we're hiring a gal by the name of Brittany Doxey, who is a resigned resident, and she worked in the HR department at Zion District 6, and then moved over to the city of Lake Forest and is in their HR department, and her specialty is the medical. So there might be an opportunity where maybe, we can collaborate and she can help with some of the stuff that you guys, need some extra help with, and, we could trade services instead of it being,
Because we definitely, we need personnel help
Right,
here.
right.
Diane does a great job, but Diane's a city clerk, and when we get into issues, particularly with police and fire and injuries and how that fits in with their pensions and all those things, we desperately need personnel help.
Right. So
So-
there might be a win-win by, taking a look at each of the areas and seeing how we can work together.
If that's the direction we go, then, we wouldn't have to, all of these scenarios require some type of legislation except for staying the same.
Right.
And that would make our job a little bit easier because it would be internal,
Right.
the cost savings that we would discover.
Right, it's just being smarter, and we've done a lot of those internally, but to take this to the next level, I think that would be a great example for us, to be able to start that ball rolling.
I don't even know if I should mention this, but I will. You and I have not talked about this at all, but I
Uh-oh.
have heard it from other
Okay.
sources. The building that we have, the township building, would it also be a consideration to move those offices back here? And then sell that building? I mean, that would, I forget what, they did list what the operating costs of that building are, the maintenance costs and
Right.
things like that, so that could be.
Well, and I
another
think that would take a
consideration.
little bit more time, because it would take reorganizing this building and moving people, and then it takes building repairs and those kinds of things, and then trusting that we're actually going to sell that building and it doesn't end up being another vacant building in the downtown area. And then you have the copper piping stolen, and, all the other wonderful things that go with empty vacant spaces. But, moving forward, anything is possible for us to have a conversation and looking at, what's in the best interest.
We'd love seeing you over here every day, Sherry.
Wow, somebody taped that and the snarky smile on his face. No. Wait, this is being taped, Mayor. And so if we just start having those dialogues to just start looking at some of the different things and what might work and what wouldn't, and we can just, start to move forward and see what's possible. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't think dissolving into the county or dissolving into Benton is feasible. I mean, of course, if Benton wants to change their mind, that's another option.
I would just like to, you mentioned before that, maybe I'm being a little bit defensive, but I like to think
He does.
that the city staff tries to do things compassionately also.
Yeah, I think that's true.
The
I
first
did hear
priority,
that.
right?
I heard that.
So, you know, and all that said, just thinking about, you know, the other opportunity is also there to look at how we can even more maximize the township building is, because right now we have, I mean, there's a number of different organizations that are able to provide services to residents in our community that they wouldn't be able to do that. I mean, they might, but having the boardroom space to be able to provide those services is a huge benefit, as well as, you know, providing individual one-on-one services to residents through the other agencies, Mano a Mano and CAP with their finance program, and, you know, our LAHI program and different things. So looking at all sides to make a rational decision about what's the best thing for the community, I think is important.
So I guess I want to echo what Mayor Hill said. When should we take the next step? I mean, it looks like we've narrowed it down to two possibilities, combining with the city, or staying the same and maybe looking for some cost savings. But when would we make that decision?
And it's on the agenda, so we can decide tonight, you know, what direction we want to take it in, or we could wait until the next meeting and allow Billy to watch the tape to get some of the other information, and, you know, then maybe put together a timeline idea of, you know, just when to start meeting and having those conversations.
Yeah, I'd be ready at our next meeting
Okay. To make a
bring the
decision.
motion.
Okay. Yes, Mary?
I'm just thinking that I think it would be a really good idea if we had some of these discussions and some of these numbers lined up for a budget, so that when both the budgets can include the numbers that we're talking about, whether it's just cooperation and or a merge. I think we need to have that before our budget
Right.
crunch.
Well, so it was my understanding from the conversation tonight that we're looking at cooperation, not merge.
I think it's still open, but we're gonna proceed with figuring out what efficiencies can be gained between the city and the township,
With-
and see what cost savings are there, and then
Collaboration.
compare those two final numbers.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. All right, so we'll put it on the agenda for next month to have another discussion on that. Okay, so between now and then, so we don't want final budget numbers for the next meeting. Thank you. I'm onboarding a new employee, I've got like a whole bunch of other stuff, so we will just review it and make a decision of which direction we're gonna go officially, and then start gathering that information.
We would ask for the cost savings of things that can be taken on by the city.
Okay, okay.
Sherry, I think it might be a really good idea to plan some type of a public forum where people can speak on how they think, on the direction that they think that we should go on. And I think it'd be a good idea if we get a lot of our numbers in place so that we can explain where we think there'll be savings, where there won't be savings, and how that'll all work. But I think it would be a real good idea if we had a public forum on it.
Yeah. Would that be, for our March meeting, do you think that would be too late?
No, I think that's too early.
Too early? We have, May 1 is our budget, so if we're just talking figuratively, so at our April board meeting?
I think we should spend a
We
little
can- we
bit
can
of
make
time
a
on
deci-
this,
we
than
can-
just a half hour also.
Yeah, yeah. Well, why don't we continue the conversation at the next board meeting, because we have 1 minute left for this board meeting. Okay, is there a second? There's a second. Any other discussion?
You guys get-
Clerk, please call the
we
roll.
have an hour and a half
Trustee
meeting.
Zane?
Right.
Trustee Fryerson? Trustee McDowell?
Aye.
Trustee McKinney? Chairman Neal?
Aye. Next item, assessor's report.
No report.
Okay. Supervisor's report, I will make it quick. I already shared Brittany Doxey, who is a Zion resident and a ZBLA graduate, will be joining our team on Friday. Also on Friday, Zion Township will be closed. We will be having our staff retreat. Another important item, the Lake County Coordinated Transportation Services Committee is seeking feedback about travel needs in Lake County. Sessions are tomorrow, Wednesday, January 18th, from 2 until 4 at Libertyville Township, and Thursday, January 19th from 9 until 11 at Wakanda Township. They had one today at Round Lake Civic Center and at Waukegan Township. So these are the last two. You can also reach out to this email that I have on the board report, and it will be posted on the website as of tomorrow. I also took a stack of the comment cards, and I've got them at Zion Township, so anybody that wants to have input, please stop by and you can write down your comments, and we can get those in for you. And they're also looking for focus group members. So if you'd like to serve on a focus group for transportation in Lake County, stop by the township and we can get you that information. Junior ZBLA applications are available online at zbla.info, and it's for 14 to 18-year-olds. So if you know of a Zion with the Harbor Beach Park 14 to 18-year-old that is looking for leadership training, we would love to have them apply. LAHEAP applications are being processed every Wednesday at Zion Township from 2 until 4 o'clock. It's walk-in. Yesterday, by 2 o'clock, we had to start turning people away. We served 22 residents with doing the applications. So, but it starts at 2 o'clock. Top Box is at Shiloh Center tomorrow, Wednesday, January 18th. We'll be having the next Zion Township Human Services Committee meeting, which is a meeting with all of the social service agencies that reside in Zion, so that we can see how we can support each other so that they can be successful, so that they don't end up leaving, and then we have less resources for the residents. That will be on Tuesday, February 7th at 2:30 p.m. And just a reminder, Mano a Mano is in town and providing services, immigration, legal services, citizenship, DACA, green card renewals, TPS, and health case management for residents. So is there anything else to come before the board? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn? Motion second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Concede? Trustee Fryerson?
Aye.
Trustee McDowell? Trustee McKinney? Chairman Neal?
Aye.